I think it's important to remind ourselves consistently that we are not reliving a recording. Because if we were reliving a recording, it would be a life that is constantly attempting to fight the sense of deja vu, and it would be inauthentic. Thank you, Og, for bringing Jake into my awareness. It's very interesting how everything connects. It's all connected, every single bit of it. The people are all connected. Talk of simulation or no, it doesn't matter. It just doesn't matter. You have to recognize what's attempting to produce fear and what's not, because we're conscious creators no matter what form we're in. We're conscious creators, no matter what. Even if we port our consciousness into a giant computer, it doesn't matter. Even in there, we're conscious creators. Even if we go a billion levels deep and we forget where the original body exists, doesn't matter. That's where the aspect of trust comes in. But on the concept of time, and Jake, your idea of fraud time, and fraud time is what everybody's in for the most part. That's what we've all been inserted into from birth, is the fraud time system. And that's the limitation imposed upon reality, and no matter what form it's presenting itself as, and no matter whether you're in a simulation or you're the original, none of that is very relevant. The fraud time is the limitation on the conscious existence, which has no time whatsoever. And there's nothing wrong with fraud time. You impose it on yourself when you have a project or something that you want to complete. You impose the fraud time on yourself because it's a tool. Because if there wasn't some semblance of the fraud time going on, then everything would be trying to happen simultaneously. And with this human brain, as Og was talking about in his last video, our human brain has a limit on how much information it can process at a given moment. And being the limited sort of computer that it is, it'll overheat and the consciousness will have to retreat from that. Which we don't want that to happen, so we have to be cognizant of the places we go, because depending on what we're doing with the body, we can open it up to overload. But back to the concept of fraud time. It's easy to see that it's completely made up. Look at any of the companies. Every single company is running a limited time promotion that's going to end in a week. And this is the only time you can get this deal. And then, of course, once that's done, Another week passes, then they're running another limited promotion that you can only get for that week. And the reason that works is because it's known that the individual is always in the present moment. The individual is mainly aware of what's going on in the present moment. So if you tell that individual that's always present, get this thing right now, because it's only here for so long, then the individual, of course, feels that they feel that sense of lack and that sense of urgency, and some part of their reptile core brain, the fight or flight response brain, says, I got to get that thing, because otherwise I'm never going to be able to get it ever again. Even though, of course, it just repeats over and over, and the promotions never end, because it's a consumer society and things have to be consumed all the time. It's just the promotion is a way of making it look glittery and shiny, so you continually feel like you're getting something new when you're not getting anything new at all. You're getting the same thing over and over again. And usually the products are detrimental in some fashion to consciousness, simply because of the nature of the system that we're in. Time itself, though, as measured, it only appears once you set a couple set points. Once you set a stick in the sand, you have something that's moving, right? Here's an example of time, okay? Say you have a toy boat and you're floating it down the river. Have somebody set up a line on the bank, and then have somebody go down a quarter mile down the river, set up another line, okay? And then have somebody set the boat above the first line in the river so it automatically flows past. And then, there are some instructions, okay, this is how much time you have to complete the building of the dam. Okay? Once the boat passes the first line, that's when you start, that's when you're able to start. And once the boat passes the second line, that's when you have to stop. And you must complete the dam within that frame of reference of that motion. Time is just a referential point artificially placed on motion, physical motion. Heavenly bodies, cars, trucks, your heartbeat, doesn't matter. It's all arbitrary. You can set it wherever you want. So then the boat passes the first line and the guy gets to work building the dam, and while he's building the dam, the boat is moving and he's building the dam, and then the boat is approaching the second line, so you tell him, hey man, you gotta hurry up, your time is running out. The boat's about to pass the second line. And so he starts getting agitated because he feels the limitation, artificial as it may be, and how much he listens to that limitation depends on how much confidence he has in you as the time setter, as essentially you're collapsing the quantum wave down into something the brain can understand. And he can understand what it means, so it gives him that measure of confidence. And if he feels that he can complete the dam by the time the boat hits the second line, then well, he's completed his mission, he's done his task, he's consummated the plan, and at that point his mind will allow him to move on to whatever is next. And if he doesn't complete it, then he's either going to feel inadequate, or he's going to question the imposition of the artificial time onto his work. So all of us can do that. We can question the arbitrary imposition of sticks along the river, which is what all of our deadlines are. Every single deadline is exactly the same thing for work or for whatever. You got to complete this by the time that boat goes past that stick. It's the same exact thing. It's not different. And you as the conscious individual can chuck that. You can throw that away, that artificial imposition, and then you're just in your moment where time doesn't exist. And if you want to do something, you can, so long as you're not within a system like a job or whatever that forces these artificial impositions onto you. If you've extracted yourself to some point, or even when you're in your conscious moment outside of that job, if you must do it, so long as you don't self-impose the limit onto yourself, then time doesn't exist and you can follow the flow of whatever action you're completing. And it has its own natural rhythm and flow, and it will complete as it needs to, outside of the artificial construct. Because every moment is a reset, and the moment is only one. So long as you're able to release your artificial time boundaries that are demanding that you complete an action within them, so long as you're able to mentally release that, then if you have something, a thought form you want to manifest, or you want to achieve something here in the realm, then you have infinite amount of time. It's just a matter of whether you're taking action or not, and whether you get discouraged or not. And that's a different subject, but the idea of I don't have enough time is simply, it's a lack-based control structure that was given to you by the ones that want you to be doing their meaningless, mundane stuff, or they want you to be tilling their fields, or they want you to be building their systems, because they know the work isn't necessarily enjoyable, but you've been forced to do it because you can't eat the food without can't eat the food unless you have the permission, and you get the permission by having the money, and you get the money by involving yourself in the monetary system, and the monetary system is a death machine. So it's a little bit of a vicious cycle in that aspect, but at the same time, within that you can be free, as I've said many times, within and without, because freedom is a mental state. When Osho went to prison, he wasn't in prison, just the physical world around him had changed a little bit, and now walls were around him most of the time instead of only some of the times. Fraud time is something that you accept. It's not forced on you. Yes, there are repercussions to releasing that construct. And yes, you can do it in various degrees. But it's something that you accept, you agree to. And Jake, I'll send you a message or something. Would love to connect with you on some level, even if it's just through email, or I would also like to have a conversation with you if I could. And another thing I would like to say to everyone who's in my little group, what started out as flat earthers, which moved on to what it should be, which is living consciously and regaining power as conscious creators. What I would like to say to all of you is that don't get too caught up in the dead entities thing. Don't get too caught up in the robots and the zombies, because you don't have to constantly mentally stay there. It's good to be aware of it, but remember where the power is. The power is in connecting with other conscious individuals. That's where it is. So I'd like to send an invitation to everybody who's watching this. And I've had people reach out to me. If you watched that video with Joey or Giuseppe, it was called Conscious Talks with Giuseppe. It was an hour or so long. If you've watched that happened because he found my videos, he resonated with me, he reached out online, and then we manifested the meeting in the physical, and it was great. And now he follows all my stuff, and I'm sure we'll meet again and have another talk at some point, and I'm sure we'll work together in some capacity moving forward. And the same thing can happen with any of us. There are no limitations. I am completely willing to do a Skype interview with anybody that is resonating nearly or at the same level as myself. And Og, I know our thing is getting pushed back, and I don't know exactly all the reasons for that, but I'm still ready and willing to do that whenever the time is right. Anybody. Redneck Tree Goddess, Jazz. I know you said you don't like doing the hangouts type stuff, but... And this isn't, we need to make this happen type of a thing. It's just me reiterating that we can do anything, just like Jazz in your archway, your doorway, you know? There are no limitations on the actual conscious mind. It's only what we allow as far as self-limitations. So again, anybody who wants to create with me, make a video, anything, communicate over the phone, through email, text, I'm open to all of it for whoever feels correct, for whom it feels correct. Reach out to me and I will respond. I respond to everybody. So yeah, that's about it. Fraud time is something that you accept. You don't have to accept it.